This is the Battles Digital Monthly Recap.
This Toyota Corolla Spasio has a clever storage trick up its sleeve. So let's say you're not hauling a lot of people around, but you want to have more space in the back for cargo. You can start by pulling this lever and fold the seats down, and it gives you a little bit more room. But there's one additional trick this car has. If you first pop up the seat bottoms, after removing the headrest and putting them in these very convenient headrest holders, you can then fold the seats down completely flat. And both sides do it. And just like that, now you have a cargo van with over 5 feet length in total storage. Just another reason why these things are super popular. Oh yeah, and one more cool thing, this thing turns into a tray table with a cup holder. How cool is that?
This is a wildly modified Geo Storm, and it's based on the Isuzu Impulse. One of the coolest things about this car, besides the wire wheels, custom airbrush paint, and pop-up headlights, has got to be the windows. On the hatchback models, the rear windows pop out, giving the passengers an open-air experience. And yes, that is a factory blue interior with a 5-speed manual transmission. It's got a 95 horsepower engine making for 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. Not fast, but very cool. This is a Mazda Bongo Friendee, and it's the absolute coolest JDM camper van. Here's why. First, it's an auto free top. The camper top pops up automatically with the push of a button. And once you're inside the top portion, you'll notice it's actually pretty roomy. You can fit up to 2 people in here. The main cabin area also has some cool features. The seats fold up and fold flat to make a bed. You've got an AC/DC outlet in the back, and you've got tons of legroom for all your passengers. But to top it all off, it has one of the coolest drivetrains out there. Not only is it a 5-speed manual, it's full-time 4-wheel drive with a turbocharged diesel engine. This van checks off all the boxes and is one of my all-time favorites. This is a Honda N1, and it's a retro-styled modern K-car. In the 2010s, Honda released a series of N cars, the N-Box, the N-Wagon, the N-Van, and this, the N1. The N1 replaced the outgoing Honda Life in their K-car lineup. And because it's a K-car, it's very small and weighs under 2,000 pounds. While most modern cars have 18-inch wheels, this came with 14 or 15-inch wheels. The inside of the N1 is very modern Honda. Matter of fact, most of your switches come straight out of an Accord or CR-V. This premium model comes with an optional Gathers head unit, which is a nice touch. The seats in the N1 are super plush and comfortable and offer a good amount of legroom both for the front and rear passengers. The trunk area is also pretty decent as well. Under the hood, you had an option of either a naturally aspirated or turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. Either one will net you about 50 miles to the gallon. If you enjoyed learning about the N1 and want to see it for yourself, head over to the Land Motor Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. This is a Saleen Parnelli Jones Mustang, and it's one of the rarest Mustangs ever produced. Saleen made just 500 of these to commemorate Parnelli Jones's 1970 SCCA Mustang, and each one is finished in grabber orange with Boss 302 graphics. These cars also get a completely reupholstered interior courtesy of Saleen, and if you look at the dash, you'll see the signatures of both Steve Saleen and Parnelli Jones. Under the hood lies a naturally aspirated 5-liter engine with a shaker hood on it, developing 400 horsepower. A race car for the road.
This is a Honda Z, and it's a K-car from Japan. It's also one of the wildest cars I've seen come from Japan. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look under the hood. Now that we're under the hood here, you can see this looks like an engine cover, but it's not. This is actually a storage container, and it's normally meant for a jack to go inside. So you might be thinking, where's the engine? Well, it's back here, and trust me, it is back here. If we pull back this right here, I've already taken out the screws on this cover. You can see the 3-cylinder engine. It's about 660 cc's. These also came turbocharged as well, and this one is 4-wheel drive. Like, what a strange spec for one of these. Here are the 5 weirdest features about this Japanese Renault. Number 1, the window switches are down here by your shins, and the door locks are in the center of the car. Number 2, this switch right here adjusts your headlights up and down. Number 3, everything is hidden away. Your ashtray, your coin box up here, your radio, and your cassette storage. Number 4, the hood is a clamshell that opens up like this. And lastly, number 5, the antenna can be put straight up as if you're in a bumper car. How weird is that?
This is a Honda Civic hybrid ute, and it's one of the most capable Civics in the world. The rear doors and trunk were chopped off to make a fully functional bed, and as mentioned, it's also a hybrid. It's got a switchable power plug on the side, and the battery sits behind the driver and passenger. The front seat area remains relatively unchanged. Other notable features are a bull bar, a 5,000-pound capable winch, and larger diameter tires up front with fitted fender flares. I've featured a lot of weird cars, and this one's one of the weirdest. This is one of the fastest Toyota MR2s in the entire world. This thing's running drag radial tires in the rear, and I kid you not, motorcycle tires up front. Once you pop the hood, or in this case, the trunk, you'll find a turbocharged 700 plus horsepower K-Series from Honda. The Honda theme continues to the interior with the seats and a hybrid racing shifter setup. Weighing at just 2,300 pounds, this thing has a better power to weight ratio than a Bugatti Veyron. This is an Alfa Romeo SZ, and it's one of the most polarizing cars of all time. The SZ was a joint venture between Zagato, Fiat, and Alfa Romeo. The iconic overall wedge shape of the car and the very blocky front end is what truly divides opinion on this car. Motor Trend even went so far to put this on the ugliest cars of all time list. All SZs were finished in red with tan interiors. Only 1,000 coupes and about 250 convertibles were ever made. Each one came with an incredible sounding 3-liter V6 pumping out a little over 200 horsepower. And thanks to the use of composite components, the car only weighs around 2,700 pounds. If you'd like to learn more about the SZ, go check it out at the Lane Motor Museum in Nashville, Tennessee.
This Daihatsu Hijet has one of the coolest features on any K truck. It's this button right here. I'm gonna press it and take a look at the bed. That's right, it's a scissor lift, but it not only does that. Once you set the bed down and pull this lever to this position, it can go from looking like this to this. It's a dump bed. It's got to be one of the craziest features I've seen, not only on a K truck, but any car whatsoever.
This is a Honda Civic EF Ute, and it's one of the most unstoppable cars off-road. Here's everything you'll find on this thing. You've got mud terrain tires all the way around. It's equipped with a 5,000-pound capable winch, a snorkel intake made out of extra bits of piping, a 5-speed manual transmission, all-wheel drive, and an H to D swap under the hood. Chris, the guy that built this thing, is a certified madman.
This is a Volkswagen rail buggy. Remember RC from the movie Toy Story? Well, this is him now. Feeling old yet? No, but seriously, the owner of this rail buggy gave it a fresh coat of paint and made it look exactly like a grown-up version of the toy RC from the movie Toy Story. It's got bucket seats inside, all of the graphics from the original toy car, and it still has the air-cooled engine in the back. Oh yeah, I had to include this little blooper as well. This car made me feel like a kid again. This is a Mitsubishi Minica Toppo, and it's one of the quirkiest cars I've ever featured. Let's take a look. For starters, this is a 3-door car. You've got 2 doors on the passenger side and only 1 on the driver's side. The steering wheel has a light that lights up to let you know the airbag works. The passenger seat has a grab handle in the dash. The doors have cutouts in the A-pillars for windows so that you have more visibility. Above the front seat area here, there's a storage bin, and it's actually pretty deep. Moving to the back, it's got rails for you to hang netting off of or additional shelves. There's also a little storage net here. The back door area is also super quirky as well. If we take a look inside, you've got more storage here and here, but that's not all. Take a look at this. The rear glass pops up. All in all, it's a super strange car, and I absolutely love it. This is a Toyota Caldina GTT. It is a turbocharged 2-liter making 260 horsepower. And what's interesting about this one, and I know a lot of you guys are going to be complaining, it's an automatic, but it's not just any automatic. Check this out. If I put it into drive, you can see the number up here, 1. That is because this thing is Tiptronic. It counts the gears for you. Makes me feel like I'm in a Ferrari. Of all things, this thing is super fast and super fun. This Subaru Sambar is one of the coolest K-vans I have ever seen. If we take a look inside, not only is it a 5-speed manual car, it's also full-time 4-wheel drive, and it's supercharged. Let me show you guys the engine. It's in the back. This is a rear-engined, rear-wheel drive car. So if we pull this lever, pull up, you can see right here the 4-cylinder supercharged engine. This is one of the fastest K-vans I have ever driven. Probably is the fastest. It's wildly cool and I absolutely dig it. This is not a normal K-truck. This is a Honda Acty Attack. It's a farm truck developed for farmers in Japan. And take a look at what makes this thing so unique. This right here, normally you've got just your 1, 2, 3, 4, but this has an ultra low forward and ultra low reverse. You can see the operation here. This thing is so cool. No matter which way you get stuck in the mud, forward or reverse, you can get yourself out with this.
This is a Renault Avantime. It's a very weird and very rare two-door minivan. Less than 9,000 units of the Avantime were produced between 2001 and 2003, making it one of Renault's worst-selling cars of all time. As the Avantime was designed as a Grand Tourer, this is a two-door car. And you can see here it has no B-pillar and very long doors. But check this out. The doors are double hinged so you don't bump into the car next to you in a parking lot. Overall, the interior on the Avantime is very wide and very tall and even features dual sunroofs to add to the open air feeling. And to top it all off, this thing was offered with a manual transmission mated to a V6 engine rated at over 200 horsepower. All in, this quirky minivan is one of my all-time favorite cars. And if you'd like to see it for yourself, go check it out. It's at the Lane Motor Museum up in Nashville, Tennessee. This is a 2200 horsepower Nissan GTR, and it's one of the fastest street cars on planet Earth. Not only does this car have a parachute, which we totally pulled on the street, by the way, resulting in one of my favorite photos ever, but it's running drag radial rears on the front and Mickey Thompson's in the rear. This car takes just 7.5 seconds to get to 200 miles an hour from a standing start. A Bugatti Chiron takes more than double that time. And since I know you guys want to see it, here's a video of this car going over 195 miles an hour.
This is the 1911 Marmon Wasp. It was the first ever IndyCar 500 winner, and it has one feature on it that was first featured on this car that we have on every new car today. Can you guess what it is? It's the rear view mirror. That's right. By law, every car today in the United States is required to have a rear view mirror on it, and this 1911 Marmon Wasp was the very first one to have it. A race car.
This is an Audi S6 Avant, and it is one of the wildest cars I have ever seen. And you might be thinking to yourself, it's very tame looking, but take a look at the badges. They don't lie. Under the hood is a 5.2-liter V10 from a newer Audi S6. This absolute sleeper of a build makes 435 horsepower mated to a 6-speed manual all-wheel drive transmission. And here's what that sounds like. This is a Mitsubishi Chariot Resort Runner GT, and it is one of the wildest sleepers to come from Japan. First impressions you'll notice about this car is that it is a 7-passenger minivan. It's got 3 rows, they all fold out to a bed. But that's about where the similarities with the average minivan come to an end, because this thing is equipped not only with a 5-speed manual, but a 4G63 under the hood. Mitsubishi pulled this from a Lancer Evolution, and my friends at Hoshi Motion tuned it to 300 horsepower. This is a Saleen S281 Extreme Speedster, and it's one of the most heavily modified Mustangs out there. The craziest option has to be the beryllium orange paint, which cost an eye-watering $15,000 over the regular car. Saleen is also well known for their custom upholstery, with this car being no exception. And under the hood is where the extreme part of the name comes from, a 4.6-liter supercharged V8 developing 500 horsepower. This is one of those cars I wanted as a kid and still want to this day. This is a Peel P50 and it's listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the smallest production car ever made. The P50 comes in at just 54 inches long and 39 inches wide. Of course, that's just enough room for one person. It's got a tiny 49cc engine making 4.2 horsepower, good for 38 miles an hour. Even the wheels are tiny at just 5 inches in diameter. Matter of fact, this car is so small that on an old Top Gear episode, Jeremy Clarkson literally drove this thing through the BBC offices. He even picked it up and got it stuck on an elevator because there's no reverse gear. This is a Volkswagen Golf Country and it's a lifted version of the Mark II Golf. The Country is a European import that was designed by the same people that built the Mercedes G-Wagon. The result was a Golf with nearly 9 inches of ground clearance, bull bars front and rear, and an all-wheel drive system underneath. The interior is also slightly different and features a tri-tone color scheme on the stitching. The 1.8-liter engine under the hood only made 98 horsepower, but was plenty to get this thing going off-road. This is a Peugeot 207cc and it's a European import that's been brought over to the United States. If you're from North America, you've probably never seen one of these things unless you've traveled abroad. They're everywhere in Europe. This is the coupe cabriolet version and comes with a retractable hardtop. This one's also lowered on some very tasteful Ford Focus SVT wheels. But the weirdest thing about this car is that it shares an engine with the Mini Cooper S. With up to 175 horsepower, these things can be pretty fun. This is a Veilside Mark IV Supra, and it's one of the most sought-after imports brought over to the United States. Veilside is well known for producing high-quality aftermarket parts. They're probably most well known for Han's RX-7 from Tokyo Drift. This Mark IV Supra has had the full Veilside treatment from the wheels to even the interior. And of course, since it's a Supra, you already know there's going to be a JZ engine under the hood. With Mark IVs frequently hitting six figures, this thing is a certified collector's item. This is a Kia Metro micro truck, and it is essentially a K-truck designed for the American market. The biggest difference between this and a Japanese K-truck is in the interior. Yes, that's correct, it's left-hand drive. The engine is also slightly larger than a Japanese K-truck at 800 cc's. Dimensionally, it's still pretty similar to a Japanese K-truck, and you still get the fold-down bed. These can be had for less than $1,000 at a government auction and are great for use in a senior prank. This is a Toyota Century V12, and it is Toyota of Japan's flagship sedan. This car was so loaded down with tech and features that Toyota charged over $100,000 back when this car was new, and modern-day equivalents of this car cost over $150,000. Every part of this car was designed for the utmost comfort of the passengers inside of the cabin. The seats aren't cloth, they're actually wool because leather was too loud. The air conditioner is the loudest part about this car. You can't even hear the V12 under the hood. This car has so many features that I'll be going over them in a second video, so stay tuned.